The bridge is gone. Sit with that for a second, because it changes more than you think it does. Month 4. You're standing on a cracked concrete boat ramp, watching a line of people on the far bank who might as well be standing on the moon. 400 feet of brown water between you and them. The span that used to cross it is lying in the river like a dropped ladder. There's no crew coming to fix it. No steel, no crane, no county budget. No phone call that ends with somebody arriving. That bridge took 2 years and $11 million to build the first time, and both of those things stopped existing in March. Now, everybody's got a list of what gets valuable after a war. Guns, gold, diesel, antibiotics, sure. All of it's worth something, but look at that list again. Every single thing on it runs out. It gets spent, traded, drunk, burned, shot, or taken off you. That's inventory. And inventory in a collapsed economy has one nasty little property nobody mentions. It only makes you rich once. A 20-foot boat with an outboard that starts isn't inventory. It's a road. It's the only road that's left because water is the one piece of infrastructure on this planet nobody has to repair. Nobody built it. It was here before the bridge and it'll be here after. More than 80% of everything traded on Earth moved by water before any of this started. And it wasn't nostalgia. One hull carries what 100 backs can't. And it doesn't get tired, and it doesn't ask for a cut. So today we're doing economics. Not the kind with a chalkboard. The kind with a rope, a tide table, and a very quiet understanding of who needs what. Breathe out. This is the rare one where the news is good. Because that dead bridge lying in the river, that isn't your disaster. That's your opening. Number 1. The wall that isn't there. 400 feet. On a map it's a smudge. On foot it's infinity. Nearest standing crossing, 30 miles upriver, so a 20-minute delivery becomes 60 miles of walking at 2.5 miles an hour with a load on your shoulders. 12 hours out, 12 hours back to move what fits in a backpack. Distance stopped being distance. It became a wall. That wall is the whole story, because a road isn't a thing. It's a promise kept every year by a crew with a budget. Bridges want steel, cranes, and welders getting paid. Rail wants signals, fuel, and a dispatcher who's alive. Take away the money, and a road turns quietly back into geography. Nobody poured the river. Nobody inspects it, patches it, or plows it. No weight limit, no washed-out shoulder, no closed lane. Zero maintenance bill, no downtime, ever. You think that's romantic. It isn't. 2018. A drought dropped the Rhine so low barges couldn't load full, and Germany lost a couple tenths of a point off its growth because a river got shallow. 2021. One ship went sideways in the Suez for 6 days, stacked 400 vessels behind it, froze close to $10 billion of trade a day. Water is still the load-bearing wall of the whole economy. We stop noticing because it never breaks. Number 2. Free suspension. A fit adult carries 40, maybe 50 pounds any real distance. Past that you're not a porter, you're a casualty with a hernia. A 16-foot aluminum skiff with a small outboard is rated for around 900 pounds. A 20-footer swallows a full ton without complaining. Not a better backpack. A different species of object. Your hull isn't carrying that ton. The water is. Every cubic foot your boat shoves out of the way pushes back with about 64 pounds of force, because that's what a cubic foot of seawater weighs. A hull displacing 30 cubic feet, roughly a kitchen fridge, holds up 1,900 pounds with no moving parts. Free suspension, free frame, free axle, never wears out. And since nothing's lifted and nothing's grinding, your engine has one job. Push water sideways. That's cheap. A river barge hauls a ton about 4 times farther per gallon than a truck, and one hopper barge holds 1,500 tons. 70 semis, lashed together, run by one guy with a coffee. Your version, 6 gallons on a small outboard at a sane cruise, 30 or 40 miles out and home. Try that with 70 trucks and no refinery. Number 3. The toll. This is where people get the economics backwards, and it costs them everything. A guy fills his boat with rice and crosses over to sell rice. He gets paid once, and now he's a guy with an empty boat. The rice was inventory. What he owned and never billed for was the crossing, don't sell the cargo. Sell the trip. Ferry people, tow a dead barge, haul a generator 4 men couldn't lift onto a truck that doesn't exist, run a mail route, drag a net. Those are services, and services don't run out. Diesel runs out. A crossing regenerates the second you turn the wheel around. None of that's theory, it's just old. Before engines, a ferry franchise was one of the most valuable things a person could own. Courts granted them, families inherited them. You sold yours like farmland, because whoever held the crossing set the price on both banks. And when land quits, water comes back first, because it was never built, so it can't be broken. Dunkirk, 1940. 1940, close to 900 vessels, hundreds of them civilian fishing smacks and yachts, pulled 338,000 men off a beach in 9 days. Leningrad held 872 days on one supply line. Lake Ladoga. Barges in summer, trucks on the ice in winter. Katrina and Harvey. The first boats weren't government, they were men from Louisiana in base boats, driving toward the water while everybody else drove away. All right, halfway. That was all about moving other people's stuff. Now it gets better, because tied to a dock with the engine off, that boat becomes a small business with a hull around it. One of the 4 things it makes is worth more than everything on every shelf in the county. Number 4. The floating utility company. Your boat already makes electricity. It's an engine with an alternator bolted on. A power station that happens to steer. It's a dry warehouse paying no rent, no property tax. It's a workshop. It's a bed. And it's a water plant. A hand-cranked reverse osmosis pump, the kind stuffed into life rafts, makes drinking water out of the ocean by squeezing seawater at 800 pounds of pressure through a membrane with holes too small for salt. A gallon an hour, 30 strokes a minute, powered by your shoulder. Miserable and unlimited. But if you make me pick the most valuable thing that Hull can sell, it isn't power and it isn't water. Anybody with a fire and a pot can boil. Anybody with a solar panel can charge a phone cold. Cold is the one nobody inland can make. A 12-volt compressor freezer off your batteries makes you the only refrigeration for 40 miles, and cold doesn't just feed you, it rescues other people's wealth. Somebody drops a deer in July. Without cold, that's 2 days of eating, and then it's a smell. With cold, it's 4 months, and you keep a quarter for the service. Unopened insulin holds at room temperature about 28 days, then starts dying. Cold turns that vial from a month into years, and gold does not compete in that conversation. After Katrina, FEMA spent something like $100 million on ice. Not food, not fuel. Ice, honest trade-off. Cold is the hungriest thing on this list, the one that burns fuel while you sit still. That's the price. It's still the best margin on the water. Disagree if you want, but run the numbers first. Number 5. The bottom. Now, the one almost nobody plans for. Everybody's staring at shelves. Shelves get stripped in week 1. Meanwhile, the richest unclaimed property in the county is sitting under 20 feet of water. Dropped outboards, chain, anchors, propellers, whole hulls resting where they went down, and sure, the base boat somebody swamped in the first week of the panic. Sunken things have one beautiful quality once the lawyers leave. No owner can come get them. Reaching them takes a boat, a hose, and the nerve to go down. A hookah rig is exactly that. A compressor topside, a hose, a regulator in your teeth, no tanks to fill. Most are good to 30 or 40 feet, which covers nearly every harbor and river bend where people drop expensive things. Salvage was never the poor man's business. 1924, a man named Ernest Cox bought 26 sunken German destroyers at Scapa for about 250 pounds each, raised them off the seabed, and sold the steel by weight. The bottom pays, and only the guy with the boat gets to bid. Number 6. The ugly hull. You now own the most valuable object in the county, and it doesn't fit in a cupboard. You can bury silver. You can't bury a boat. Everyone sees you. Everyone sees you leave. Everyone sees you come back sitting lower in the water, and every trip is a billboard. That's your second enemy, meaner than the river. Attention. Envy with a schedule. There's also a version of that enemy holding a clipboard. In the Falklands, Britain pulled around 50 civilian ships out of commercial trade in weeks. American law keeps the same tool on the shelf. Under the Merchant Marine Act, a declared national emergency lets the government requisition documented vessels and hand you a number instead of a choice. Dunkirk's little ships weren't all volunteers either. Plenty were just taken. So learn the rule. A clipboard only takes what a clipboard can find, and a marina is a list with slips attached, which brings the defense, and it's the opposite of your instinct. Don't upgrade. Downgrade, peeling paint, a sun-rotted canvas cover, a tarp with 3 weeks of rainwater in it, a hull that looks like it hasn't run since 2019. Keep the engine perfect and let the paint job lie for you. In a broken economy, the best asset is the one nobody writes down as an asset. Number 7. The $15 part. A boat isn't a rock. It's a machine dying at a measurable rate whether you run it or not. Salt eats metal, sun eats rubber, water finds every seal. Your position in year 2 gets decided by what you bought in year 0, and it isn't fuel. Everybody remembers fuel. It's the water pump impeller. A rubber pinwheel that pushes cooling water through your outboard costs about $15, and 60 seconds of running that engine dry can shred it. Then the engine cooks itself and your empire becomes a very heavy canoe. Then filters, because gasoline with ethanol in it pulls moisture out of the air and separates into layers in about 90 days, and the bottom layer is water your engine will try to drink. Then belts, seals, and the anodes, dull gray blocks bolted to your underwater metal, designed to corrode so your propeller doesn't. Swap them at half gone, or the sea eats the expensive parts instead. Buy all of it in threes. A $50,000 vessel gets stopped dead by a $15 pinwheel of rubber, and there is no store. So here's the arithmetic. Everybody else prepped a pile. Piles are honest work, and piles are finite. Every can you eat, every round you fire, every liter you burn makes you that much poorer. You can't get rich off a pile, only less poor, slower. You didn't buy a pile. You bought position. In a world where distance came back from the dead, the person who can cross it isn't selling a product, they're charging admission. And admission is the only business where the stock refills itself every time you turn around. So, the ramp. Month 4. Same brown water, same dead span lying in the river like a dropped ladder, same crowd on the far bank, who might as well be on the moon, except now they're waving at you. And they're not waving because they like you. In the old economy, you were a guy with a small boat and a monthly payment. In this one, you're the freight line, the ferry, the cold storage, and the price of everything on both banks. Nobody elected you. Water did. Everybody's waiting on the bridge. You're the bridge. And bridges charge.